deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Texas Fish and Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your host, Dustin Von Warnke, author, outdoor writer, videographer, speaker, blogger, and podcaster, and I'm so excited that you've taken the opportunity to download our show on your mobile device or stream it online, however you are listening. Thank you so much for doing so. Well, we're back. I know we've been gone the last couple of weeks. We had a bye week right before Thanksgiving week. I did kind of a best of the outdoors Thanksgiving week since it was a short week, and I know a lot of folks wouldn't have a chance to listen to the regular podcast, so I did that. And then we took a break off last week because the week after Thanksgiving, because I got sick Thanksgiving weekend, so I didn't have much of a voice to speak from. I had kind of an upper respiratory virus thing going on, and I just really didn't have much of a voice to talk with, so took a break and did another best of week that week. And so we're back this week, and I'm really excited to have the chance to work with you and be with you again and do this podcast, because I really enjoy bringing this to you every month, every couple of weeks, I guess you could say, every twice a month. So anyway, today I have Blake Marshall. He's a good friend of mine. He is a hunting guide and the owner of King of Eights Outfitters, and is just a great guy. I've known Blake since 2014, so it's coming up on 3 years now that I've known Blake, and have helped him kind of grow in his career and the work that I do in the outdoor industry. And I've really had a great opportunity I've been trying to get him on the show forever. I mean, since I started the podcast, I had planned to have him on the show originally, and since it's become part of the Texas Outdoor Nation, I've really wanted to have him on the show. And so we finally got together and recorded a podcast before Thanksgiving, so I'm just releasing it now since this is our next week for podcast. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you really enjoy our show together. We talk a lot about a lot of different things on this show. High fence hunting, which is kind of a controversial issue. We talk about Tanner's Dream Hunt, which is a organization that Blake is starting a GoFundMe page for and a Facebook page for, and for a gentleman that's a double amputee, and he's doing some charity work with that, and some other some military veterans and some other folks that are doing things in the outdoor industry. So good things are happening on this podcast for sure. And there are ways you can plug in and support that. We also talk about a letter from a non-hunter that Blake received on a social media site. Not a letter, but a note from a non-hunter, and how he kind of responded to the questions that she was asking, and kind of gives some insight for us. And when we deal with non-hunters and people that aren't part of the outdoors, kind of the things that we can teach and educate folks that don't understand why we hunt and fish in the outdoors, to kind of turn more people our direction and in the fight to keep our heritage alive in the hunting and fishing world. So anyway, a lot of good stuff on this podcast. I want to thank you so much again for tuning in and joining us. And here is my interview with Mr. Blake Marshall. I wanted to say this for like a year and a half now. Blake Marshall, welcome to the Best of the Outdoors podcast.
I'm telling you, I have been wanting to do this with you, but when I say every time, something has come up, and it has come up, and it's been one thing after another, but I got a lag this week in between hunts and guides, and if I'm not guiding or I'm not hunting, I'm doing some type of ranch work, concrete work, metal buildings, whatever, and I got a little lag, and I'm trying to do some philanthropic work along with posting and trying to sell hunts. So I said, you know what? I'm going to seize the day, and I'm going to do this with this man. I love you, Dustin, and you've been nothing but helpful to me. And anyway, sometimes the only thing to do it is just to do it.
Exactly. Well, I'm so glad you're able to join me today. Like I say, I've been trying to schedule you on this for a while, but I was even talking about doing this podcast with you, Blake, before we started the Best of the Outdoors as part of Texas Fish and Game. And when I started the podcast, I wanted one of our first ones to be together. But now that we're part of the Texas Outdoor Nation and the Texas Fish and Game family, I think it's even better. We have even a broader audience, so this is great.
I do too, man. I'm glad to be here.
No, that's super. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Blake, and your background in hunting.
Well, I grew up in rural Georgia. I started out at a young age with growing up. I grew up on hunting family property. We manage everything for timber there for mainly pine trees and everything. But we have a home place there that was originated from when we came from overseas. That we were generation farmers. Third, fourth, fifth generation farmers. And anyway, started hunting there with my dad, who got me into it at a very young age. I remember my first hunt with him when I was 3 years old, and he took me out there to our land, and we crossed the fence. Walked what seemed like a mile, and across the fence. It was probably about 100 feet across the fence, and he laid a blanket on the ground, and he was trying to teach me how to be quiet in the woods. Listening to squirrels and stuff. And I had a little rubber band gun I had been given from my great aunt, and that Christmas before I was 3 years old when I got when I remember my first experience. I know he had taken me before that, but
right.
I continued to to grow, and my love continued to grow for the outdoors, and respect for that, because my dad was real big into conservation. He was actually a guide out in Wyoming for 11 years. He and my mom got married out there, but he was big time into it, and he would take me every chance he got, But I was also the low man on the totem pole, so as that happens, they would all kill deer in camp, and I would have to learn, but they would bring the deer in and I would clean them.
Oh, sure.
They would hang it up, and I would be the one that cleaned them. And
the go-to guy for cleaning deer.
That's right.
Huh?
And it's part of becoming a man.
That's right.
And it's that rite of passage, so to
yes.
speak. And then I was able to. They gave me a little bit more rope and a little bit more rope and a little bit more rope till by the time I was 8 years old. I got out, by myself. I mean, there was folks on the property, but I was theoretically by myself, and I took my first deer and shot him with an open sight, lever action 30-30. Roll the deal woods, and
wow,
and never will forget it. And I was forever hooked.
Sure.
And so that's kind of how I got started. Into my love and everything. But then I took it to a whole nother level. Growing up, listening to my dad's stories and everything. He was a civil field engineer, or civil engineer. Started out as a civil field engineer, but what he would do is he would go on projects. He would take a project for 6 months, 8 months of the year, and then he would take the rest of the year and guide. And so I got to experience a lot of that stuff with him, see a lot of the world with him. And main thing he pushed me to do was follow my heart.
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm getting at now. How I got from Georgia to Texas is a interesting story, but I'll try to sum it up best I can. My dad wound up passing December 1st, 2011. And he was in the deer stand. He was actually on the guide, and he was in the deer stand out with a bunch of guys, bow hunting and everything, and wound up having a heart attack, and passed away that day. But he lived while he died while he was living, so to speak, and doing what he loved. And I had a decision to make that day, or not necessarily that day, but in the months to come after I got done dealing with all his stuff. I decided it was either following his footsteps, which I was doing. I was in school in engineering school at Georgia Southern University, and doing the construction management program there, or I had a decision to follow my heart and do what I'm doing now. It didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen, as a lot of stuff does or does not in life. But
sure.
My hand was actually kind of forced. My mother's originally from Texas, and she remarried a man from Texas, and they moved out here. They had been here about a year and a half at the time, and 6 months after my dad passed, my mom and stepdad got diagnosed with cancer, and so I didn't bat an eye. She called me up. I packed my truck up, and I came out here. Well, I got a little job at Bass Pro Shops, and with full intention of wanting to break into the outdoor industry, and I started feeling a little bit here and feeling a little bit there, and I was actually guiding hunts with guys for free, just because I love it so much.
Sure.
And these guys said, Blake, you could, if you really love this, and this is your passion, you can make a good living out here. You're in the right place. And I hadn't experienced that in Georgia. It's night and day.
Right.
We don't have big ranches with all these animals and everything. So, I started thinking, and anyhow, got in. I on Facebook, this, that, and the other. I started putting stuff out there, and lo and behold, a man by the name of Dustin Von Warnke, who I'm talking to right now,
yes,
reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, I'd like to see if you want to, work with DK Outdoor Adventures and start brokering hunts." And so you introduced me to a whole nother facet of this that I had never done, and taught me how to, gave me my introduction into properly selling hunts with, fully researched places that
Sure.
you trust, places that you don't trust, and all that.
Sure.
And got my start, started making a little bit of money. And during that time, I wound up going on I killed my two biggest deer that season. I started with DK Outdoor Adventures, and my first one with a bow in the Texas Hill Country, and then I went home for Thanksgiving. This was in 2014.
Yes, I remember.
November 2014. I went home for Thanksgiving and with Georgia to see all my family, and I got invited on a duck hunt, and wound up. I love ducks with the best of them, but them big bucks were running, and I kept seeing it, and all the other. It was horrible weather, intermittent between tornado and thunder and lightning storms.
Ooh.
And but I decided to stay, and as fate would have it, I wound up killing the biggest buck of my life, and shot him with my dad's rifle, that he left me with, actually the last round that he had in that magazine. So 308 Savage, but it's pretty special. But anyway,
he's very special. That's great. Wow, what a story.
Well, he was a almost 152-inch 8-pointer, solid 8-pointer. Killed him right off the Oconee River there in Georgia, between Baldwin and Wilkinson County, right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of the swamp. And it just, I followed all my sign, and God led me to it, and wound up harvesting an animal of a lifetime. And anyway, that leads me to my next thing of how I got the name for my company, which is King of Eights Outfitters.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin, Keith Marshall, he and I, he was one of the ones out there giving me his deer, to clean growing up, and helping me and showing me. And I looked up to him. He's 8 years older than me. And we were, you have those friendly competitions with family, friends and family and everything. And he and I were the ones that were in most competition, but I had, year after year, I had killed deer, solid deer and everything, but he had killed big 9s and 10s and 11s and this, that, and the other, but never killed an 8. And he's actually a full-time firefighter there in Macon, Bibb County, Georgia. And he asked me to bring that deer, that big buck, big 8-point I shot to him to show him, and I did. And he and the other firefighters went out there, and I let him go out there first, and he lit up a cigarette and dropped the tailgate, and that feeling. And he said, "Good gracious alive, son." He said, that's a man right yonder, and it made me feel so good. But he said, he took a drag off that cigarette, I could see it just today, and he said, "Well, I'll be daggum if you ain't the King of Eights." And
I love
and
it.
I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, "Well, think about it, son." He said, you from the time you ever, you killed your first buck, respectable buck, to now, they have been nothing but 8-pointers, and and if you look in my house, they go from, about 110-inch to now 150-inch 8-pointers. They just got bigger and bigger and bigger every year, and they're really solid symmetrical 8s, thick symmetrical 8s. And he said, I've never killed one. I've never killed a symmetrical 8. I've never killed 8 period. I've killed 10s, 12s, 9s, all that. He said, you're the king 8s. And so I had me a long ride back from Georgia to Texas. It was like I said, I was just there for 3 days and I did everything real quick. And I had been pushing real hard. And on my way back, I pulled over to the side of the road to take me a 30-minute nap, which wound up being a 3.5-hour nap.
I understand how that goes.
And I woke up, and when I woke up, I had not only the name of my outfit in my head, of course, but I had the emblem in my head, which is my buck, my actual buck's outline with the king's crown. And some people, when they first see it, they're like, king of 8s, that's cocky, but the main thing that I'm trying to portray there is, being the king. I'm not the king, I am because of the great I am.
Sure.
And the king, the crown on the buck skull represents the crown of Jesus. And the 8 represents new beginnings, as it does in the Bible. So it's basically, my outfit means king of new beginnings. And you can, I want it to be a symbol of hope for everybody, because you can start today.
Right.
You can start today, and you can do anything. You just have to believe, and
Sure.
you have to put him first. And I did. And you've been in this industry. You know how tough it is. You know how cutthroat it is at times. Mm-hmm. And I've had ups and downs, highs and lows. Met good people, met not so good people. But I'm with some really good guys now, and working with some really good ranches, and God has blessed me because I've actually put him first. In days past, I thought I had put him first and said I had put him first, but until you actually do it, nothing happens. And nothing was changing in my life during this time.
Right.
It's definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over
again. Right. Yeah.
That's right. Expecting different results. But anyway, that's the basic rundown of how I got here and how my outfit became to be. And, it's not easy at all. It's a daily grind. I don't wake up and go to a 9 to 5. Some days I work 20 hours, doing what I do. And in the off season, I don't rely just on this. Growing an outfit, you have to have good clientele that know they can trust you and rely on you, and good ranchers and good management programs. And there's a lot that goes into it. So in the off time, off season, heck, I build fence. I do concrete, finish concrete. I do metal buildings. I do whatever it takes. But I'm lucky enough to have a woman who understands that and accepts that, and knows that I love this, and knows that I will provide. But my ultimate goal is to of course have a working ranch of my own. I'm looking to start out with 1,100-1,200 acres. Looking to get have it already fenced with animals in it, and then of course living quarters, and then quarters for guests to stay, hunters quarters. And hopefully, hopefully if things go right, man, I'll have that here in the next year and a half or so.
That's great. I was going to ask you something, since you are into, exotic hunting and those kind of things, as well as whitetail deer hunting. I've got another podcast I'm going to do on this subject, but what is your thought on high fence hunting, Blake?
When I first started, I came from Georgia, and I had heard many tales on high fence hunting. Here's the deal. It's like anything. There's literally here 27 miles from my house, there's 2 high fences right across from each other on 83. One of them is like hunting 100% wild free range animals. One of them is managed to where you can turn on a feeder and they'd eat carrots out of your hands if you wanted to. So it matters how it matters how that place is managed. if you add four feet to a fence, does that make a wild animal any less wild? No. What I think about high fence is it's more for keeping people out. You know, there's a lot of not necessarily keeping your animals in. Yeah, do you want to protect your investment? Absolutely. And doing this as a business, you know, running hunts and running an outfit and doing it as a business, and people want to come and take these animals. I have absolutely a totally different outlook on high fence hunting compared to when I moved here. You know, I growing up, I'd heard, oh, you know, they just raised in a pen and this, that, and the other. Given there are places that have 100-acre pens that grow 230-inch deer, and people come up and pay $25,000 and shoot them.
Sure.
If that's your thing, okay, that's not my facet. The high fences that I do hunt, let me assure you, if you have any kind of doubt that in your mind that a high fence hunt is some kind of fish in the barrel hunt, that's fine. Come hunt with me for 3 days and see. You can see for yourself. Everybody that I have had come hunt with me on a high fence, or we do combination high fence, low fence, their minds are changed.
Right.
And they're like, wow, you know, I had no idea that it was like this. I thought it was just going to be you come and you turn on a feeder. I've been on this hunt or that hunt, and you know, these guys turn on their feeders and the deer show up, and you know, you take which one that you want. And there's a time and place for everything. But the places that I deal with, they're managed right. In my opinion, you know, they're managed how I think they should be managed, and you actually have to hunt.
Right.
You have to hunt for them. Are they in an area, enclosed area that they cannot get out of? Yes. Right. But let me tell you something. They get smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter every day. That some of the craftiest animals in the world. You know, I mean, they can be 10 feet from you. They know exactly when you show up and exactly when you leave, and
right.
every move that you make.
Even more than low fence hunting, Blake. You know, I make that point a lot.
Yep, especially a lot more than low fence hunting. I'm actually, to be quite honest with you, there's some guys coming with me on low fence hunts. You know, and we have basically equal caliber of bucks in our high fences. We do our low fence. We've got right now the pastures that I'm hunting is 6,600 acre low fence and 2,700 acre high fence, and then a 2,000 acre high fence. And you know, I advised them to come hunt the high fence, and you know, they said, well, you know, we want to do low fence. I said, well, that's fine. I mean, they probably will wind up getting a deer, but one of the main things that I was stressed to, I was like, look, man, I mean, it's you know, these deer they're wild. You know, I have to, when I go out and scout, I don't go out in my truck or ride the Polaris around. I go and I actually, you know, I sit down, I go in, I sneak in, I get up in a blind and I glass, and I really watch, or I spot and stalk just like I would just without a gun.
Right, for a hunt, right.
Right, when I'm getting ready for and preparing for a hunt. Yeah, actually, I just had a couple come 2 weekends ago for their anniversary. Part of their not anniversary, part of their honeymoon, and
sure.
They came on a meat hunt. And I said, you know, it's axis and whitetail. Let me tell you something. I put them on. I put them on axis on spot and stalk. But you know, the saying goes, "He who hesitates is lost." You know, you gotta. They realized that you had to be quicker on the switch than they were being. And nothing against them. You know, they wound up being great hunters. They took three deer home with them, which is what they came for, sure. Package hunt. But they saw how after the first day they said, wow, you know, our opinions are totally changed on hunting a high fence.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's my spiel. That's my take on that. I think it matters how it's managed. is
No, I
one
agree.
of the main things.
I agree.
It matters how it's managed.
And I mean, another thing the point that you hadn't made about high fence is it also keeps predators out. One of the high fence ranches I'm working with right now has got a coyote problem, even in the high fence.
That's right.
And but it typically keeps animals that you don't want in, either genetics from other animals, other deer or other exotics or whatever out of there, and it also keeps a hold of keeping predators and other, non-wanted animals out of the high fence area to protect your game. So I see it in a lot. And see, high fence hunting, I understood, got started because of not wanting deer to building a high fence next to a road, so deer would not jump across the road since there were so many deer in the area. This is the way I understood it, at least, and I don't know exactly where this started, but it was basically keeping deer away from humans, hitting them with a car or a truck or whatever, and that's how I understand it got. But then you see all the benefits of keeping your genetics in there and keeping your animals and stuff like that safe in there. It definitely has its advantages. So that's something we've never talked about on this show. So I just wanted to bring that up.
It sure as heck does. You're right about that. It definitely does. It also keeps not only predators, hogs out. We don't have a hog problem. I mean, and do I hunt hogs? Sure do. I've got land for that. There's places that I go for that. But where you're trying to manage a place and keep up a population of whitetail or axis or whatever African hoofstock you have in there, you don't want a bunch of hogs in there rooting up everything, tearing up feeders and eating all the food and running everything off the feed.
And you may not have a hog problem yet, Blake, but
not yet. They just hadn't made it there. Fortunately for the landowner and the ranch manager, I have an itchy trigger finger when it comes to hog and predators, and wherever I guide, they don't last that long.
No,
and
that's good.
try to do my part in that, which actually it kind of that leads to you and I were talking the other day about I posted a picture of me on Facebook. I was holding up a bobcat that I had killed, and I had a young girl message me. And I knew her, I grew up with her. My mom actually taught her in school.
Oh, cool.
But I had a young girl message me on Facebook after I posted that picture asking me, she was like, I want you to explain to me, what is the point? Why do you kill things? Is it for the sake of killing, or why do you kill things that you don't eat?
Yes.
And so I sat back for a minute and I wanted to just go boom, 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 boom. And I said, that's the wrong thing to do. This is somebody who, she came at me with an open mind, and she wrote that. She said, I'm coming at you with an open mind. I'm not PETA, which I have had them come at me. But
sure, we all have.
Yeah, the antis. I'm not PETA. I'm not a vegan. I eat meat. I love meat. I want to understand more about what you do.
Sure.
And I said, sure, absolutely. And so I sat back a minute and I started thinking, why? You sometimes you have to ask your own self, why do I do the things other than it's, now it's ingrained in me. It's just ingrained because that's what we do. And I was raised by a man who knew every law of conservation, which, I tried to teach her about during our conversation. But I started out by saying, first and foremost, I don't kill something for the sake of killing it. Anything that I take, it has a purpose. And one of the main things with predators, okay, I used to let predators walk growing up. Because I thought they were beautiful, and they are.
Right.
All right. Coyotes are beautiful to watch. Bobcats are beautiful to watch. Guess what? Every day a predator lives, something dies. And if you're trying to manage a population of whitetail or black buck or axis or whatever, or quail, especially in this region that I'm at, turkey, we're over. I mean, we've got an abundance of quail here, turkey here, all that. But you want to keep those populations where they need to be. And let me tell you something: a pack of coyotes, or a bobcat here, a bobcat there, can decimate your population.
Yes.
One or two.
Animals are not conservationists like humans. That's
no, they're not.
true. So
no, they're not.
They eat to live, right?
That's right. And do they deserve to live? Absolutely. Just like just like the deer or anything else that we take deserve to live. But you have when properly managed, and this is one thing I was trying to explain to her. I said every place that I hunt has a management program set in place, and not all of them are the same. They have similarities and differences, but within that management program, you have a certain amount of deer that you have to take. You have a certain amount of turkeys that you want to take. You got a certain amount of quail that you want to take, and you don't want to decimate humans can decimate a population, but in the natural balance of the ecosystem, you also need to do your part. Or as a hunter, I feel I'm not gonna say you. I feel I need to do my part in taking out predators and to keep the populations where we want them.
Right.
And if you, for anybody who does disagree or anything, I have several videos that I can show you of coyotes ripping the ass in out of deer or fawns or whatever. And I mean, one after another after another. I'm
Sure.
I'm talking about on the same property.
Right.
And the next thing you know, you don't have the numbers that you did, and then the next thing you know, you don't have anything, and
Right.
They've moved whatever else has moved on to other property, which brings me back to why high fence is important.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to population control when it comes to predators and your hoof stock, whatever it may be.
That's good, Blake. I mean, I did a podcast a couple episodes ago on bow fishing, and I got a lot of questions after I posted that up about, what do you do with the fish every time I post bow fishing pictures, and nothing ever goes to waste in nature. I think that needs to be said because, the turtles and the snakes got to eat too when it comes to bow fishing, even though we don't eat that fish. But we take invasive species, especially like, grass carp and common carp and those kind of things out of the lake because, overpopulation. They eat bass eggs and catfish eggs and, fish that are desirable for us to eat. On land, I think it's the same kind of idea. The buzzards got to eat at some point, and they're definitely, nothing ever goes to waste by nature. I think that's a good point to make here.
Absolutely. What goes around comes around, and here's another thing. There are certain people who do take those fish home and they'll boil them down, they'll cut them out, take their time to cut down, cut the fish apart and fillet it and everything, and take all the bones out, and they will eat those fish. However,
right.
It's a lot,
Mm-hmm.
a lot more time consuming. It's a whole lot of work, and if you're running when you have a species that, like you said, is invasive, and you have the numbers that you have, it's not you're not doing anything but good by taking a few out. Exactly, and especially putting them back because everything, like you said, everything else is going to eat. The other game fish, which what we consider game fish, are gonna eat on that.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
So the same is true basically on land, where you take out a predator like a coyote or a bobcat or something like that, and and my last podcast was on predator hunting with air guns, so this is kind of a perfect place to put this. It basically has its benefits for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. And the one of the other things that I was trying to explain to her is not, and I started off that I'm going back to the conversation, on what she asked me about why I do what I do in conservation and everything.
Sure.
And I said, first and foremost, let me explain something to you. I am a hunter, and this is what I do. And, I'm not apologetic for that. I never in a million years, until social media came about and I had all these anti-hunters come at me, I never knew anything about being apologetic for hunting. Are you kidding me? Growing up, I did it. My dad would say, go get a deer, and I'd go get a deer, and guess what? We ate for a while. He would say, go catch a mess of catfish, and I'd go run a trot line or jugs or rod and reel, and I'd catch a mess of catfish, and we'd eat for a while.
Right.
I'm not in the least bit apologetic for what I do, and the people that do not understand hunting or think it's inhumane or cruel are just uneducated and don't want to know the truth. They see things how they see things, and that's it. Of course, another thing I can guarantee you, they've never even been on a hunt. So how can you judge something that you've never done?
Sure.
You can't do a calculus problem without knowing trig, and you can't do trig without knowing algebra. It's step by step.
Sure.
It's the same way.
No, it is.
And
there are a lot of people that have not experienced it that are antis or just non-hunters that will rack on us a lot of times. But I just don't agree with, why knock it until you've tried it, I mean.
Well, that plus here's the deal. The reason that the populations are the way they are to this day are because of who? Hunters.
I was going to say that. I mean, look at Africa. Look at Africa's a good example of that, but all over the place. That's a very good point.
Yeah, we have a bigger. Here's the thing. Here's a great point. The population. We have a better population of animal hoof stock in Texas than Africa does.
That was why? What I was going to make a point of. Exactly.
You know why? Because of the improper management of the hoof stock itself. Just killing and decimating populations and not properly managing stuff. We as hunters, we do this. Yeah, do we do it for enjoyment? Do we do it for the meat? Do we do it for the thrill? Absolutely. But we're doing it for years to come. Right. I don't have a son yet or daughters yet, but when I do, I want them to be able to experience the things that I've experienced. And the only way to do that is to get out there and do your part.
Right.
And that's something that I literally do it, live it, sleep it every day. I've dedicated my life to this. It's not something I take lightly.
Right.
And
no, I understand completely. And I've got a 7-year-old son that I'm trying to get into it, and he has his iPad and his iPhone and all the different things, that he plays games on and those kind of things. He doesn't have his own iPhone yet, but he has a lot of distractions that can get involved, that a lot of kids get involved with, that never learn how to hunt and fish. And I take him out every time I have a chance to go fishing, or every time I got a chance to go, check my feeder, or, check my blind, or check my stand, or check my game cam pictures, or whatever. And, I think it's vitally important. As I've said on this podcast many a times, kids that hunt and fish don't steal and deal.
That's right.
The bumper sticker's true.
That's right. They don't, because they have something else, something good that occupies their mind and their time. And, to be honest with you, there's not a whole, even as you get to an adult, there's not a whole lot to do out there that that is better than hunting and fishing. There's not what I'm trying to get at is there's a whole lot of bad out there.
Right.
And hunting and fishing is not one of them. And my very best memories growing up, the ones I still pull from on bad days, guess what? I'm out there doing something
in the outdoors
with my cousins or my uncles or my dad or whomever, even if it's just the shoot bush hogging. I used to sit on the tractor and bush hog with my cousin Richard, and thought I was the coolest thing in the world, going through our property, cutting skidder roads, logging roads for the timber companies to come in,
Sure.
Just keeping the roads up. And that leads to better things.
Sure.
That leads to land management, wondering about land management, and asking why. What can I do to make this world a better place? The one thing that really got me started, I don't know if you if you read this book. If you hadn't, anybody who's listening, you ought to check it out too. It's my dad gave it to me when I was in middle school, and it's called A Sand County Almanac by Aldo Leopold. And Aldo Leopold is known as the quote unquote father of conservation. And if you've never read it and you have any curiosities about why we do what we do as outdoorsmen, as conservationists, all doubts will be extinguished after you read it. It's
great.
It's a heck of a book.
Yeah, I've not read it before, but I'll definitely put that link in the show notes so other people can find it. Can you get it on Amazon, I assume, Blake?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. I'll look it up then. That's great.
Yeah, man. But anyway, so other than that, Buddy Rowe, I've just been here lately. I've been guiding. I've been running a bunch of meat hunts, which is part of a management program that we do. We have a certain number of deer that we have to take each year due to the population on these ranches that I'm guiding on.
Like MLD permits, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we have MLD. Yeah, they're MLD permits. Cool. And
that's great. We
have a certain number that we need to take, certain quota that we need to take of does and or spikes, 4-pointer stuff that you don't want in your genetics. Been doing a good many of those, and trying to book daily. I'm just trying. It's like I said, it's a daily grind getting out there. Thank God for Facebook,
right,
and LinkedIn and Instagram and YouTube and everything else. Lord knows I try, but it's a matter of time. Little by little, I'm growing a pretty good list, clientele list of people that anybody that has come with me has told me they want to come back. So
that's great. That's a perfect testimonial right there.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and disclose that I built your website. You want to give that link out and your phone number?
Yeah, absolutely. It's www.kingof8s.com, and that's all spelled out.
Right.
Word kingof8s.com. And yeah, you did.
I do a lot of things in the outdoor industry, as you know, Blake. So our audience doesn't know all those things yet, but I do a lot of things. So that's how I came to know you.
You do a heck of a lot more than I thought you did when we first started. I thought you were 100% techie dude, but you're involved in a lot more facets of it than you actually amaze me with some of the stuff. It's like, man, he manages so many of these websites for these outfitters and guides and stuff, and I know you're into the buying and selling, trading of hoof stock,
live sale, right?
Live sale and everything, which is cool, and I've started getting into that myself.
It's a fun business. It's a really cutthroat business if you think hunting outfitting is bad. So
it's absolutely cutthroat.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Yeah, like you said, it's fun. It's feast or famine too.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And people, people want what they want when they want it, or either they don't want it.
Yeah,
so you have to be
right.
You have to be ready with it.
Johnny on the spot with it. That's for sure. Because people don't wait long in that business. That's for sure.
Absolutely, that's right.
How would you prefer people to contact you, Blake? Through the website or through your phone number, or what would you like to give out?
Yeah, they can. Well, on the website, my phone number and email is on there. Anybody and everybody is more than welcome to call or text me. Just as well as I do. I live out in the sticks, so
yes.
If you're trying to get in touch with me, text me first, and then I'll call you back. If you call me, leave a voicemail. But my cell number is 210-740-6411, and you can also go to my website, which of course is www.kingof8s.com, and you're welcome to email me as well, and it's pretty simple. It's huntingwithmarshall@gmail.com. All spelled out, all lowercase. Again, all that info is on the website as well. and I have rates, rates for hunting and stuff on the website, but I have daily deals that I'm always, there's, as you very well know, prices fluctuate up and down
Sure.
in this. And so I'm always, whatever's on there is just kind of a ballpark. There's stuff that it goes up and down. So I'm always finding deals. So if somebody gets on there and they want something, they're interested in something, they see a price and they're like, don't hesitate, give me a call, because I can find deals. I mean, that's one thing that I do.
Oh, that's great.
I'm always talking to ranchers, always going out to different places, looking for different, different populations of animals,
species, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, and I do low fence and high fence. I do 100% free range and high fence. And one thing that I've gotten into here lately is running quail hunts, which I'm really excited to add that on into my repertoire. That's great. Yeah, I did a good bit of it in Georgia. Got my feet wet there, so to speak. But I never was able to call myself a quail guide. But I've done a good bit of it here lately, enough to where I'm experienced enough to be able to take people out and know what I'm doing. And I've got I don't have dogs, but I have guys that I call in.
Sure. To go on those hunts,
and,
right?
That's great. To go on those hunts. So offering that now, and offering the helicopter hog hunts.
Oh, cool.
Started offering that.
And where are you located again? What part of Texas are you, just to give our listeners some geographical reference?
I'm located in Ballinger, Texas, outside of Ballinger, about 8 miles. I'm out in the middle of nowhere in God's country, and literally. But I'm about the main ranches I deal with are about 7-8 miles outside of Eden, between Paint Rock and Eden.
All right, and just the next nearest city next to that is what?
The closest, biggest city to where I live is going to be San Angelo, and that's 45 minutes.
San Angelo. Okay, so that's kind of central West Texas in a way, right? Is that what you would say geographically? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, central West Texas, and basically between San Angelo and Abilene.
Okay,
if that gives you an idea.
No, that's good. Those are two major cities people can reference pretty well.
Yeah, and they're the highway intersection actually I live off of is 2406 and 83, FM 2406 and Highway 83.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Right there, but I actually, it's crazy. I'm 6 miles from where my mom's dad grew up in Rowena.
So how cool!
It's weird how you come around full circle like that.
Full circle in your life. Yeah, you never
had
know.
no idea. Had no idea.
That's great.
Crazy, man.
And it's funny to have you on the show right after I had Rick Ward, who grew up in Texas and now lives in Georgia for 20 years. I have somebody that lives from Georgia that moved to Texas, and is here. And I know there's a big age difference there, but I just kind of think that's funny, Georgia boys.
Funny.
You Georgia boys are funny.
That's right, man. We're a different breed for sure.
That's right.
We're a different breed. I don't get me wrong, man. I love Georgia. I love going to visit my family and everything.
Right.
But to do that brings up another good point. And whoever's listening, to do what I want to do and be an outfitter, be a successful outfitter and guide and do this for the rest of my years. If you're not grandfathered into something or a multi-gazillionaire win the lottery, you're not going to get into that in Georgia. I'm just telling you. If you don't, I know several great places to go in Georgia, but it would never be mine. It would never be my outfit, my operation.
It's not the industry like Texas has hunting as an industry, is what you're saying. Yeah, I think that's very important.
That's right, and so I had to make that decision. I left home. That was my home.
Sure.
I grew up there, lived there until I was 24, and I've been out here. I'm 30 now, getting to be an old man. But
I'm 37, so I'm not that far behind you there, or that far ahead of you. So yeah, that's funny. But I love it here. I love it here in Texas, man. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Now I've got a great woman who
who puts up with my crazy self and all my outfitting and guiding and everything, and wants to be a part of it. We were actually looking at land and ranch homes last night, just dreaming and
right.
planning our wedding and all that stuff. So we're in the middle of that as well.
Oh, how exciting. That's wonderful, man. That's great.
Yeah, man.
So, and the best place people to follow you, they can just search Blake Marshall or King of Eights on Facebook, Instagram, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, on Instagram, you can look up Blake Marshall or King of Eights Outfitters, but it would be, the actual tag is at KO8 Marshall.
Okay.
The at symbol KO8 Marshall, and that's all lowercase. Facebook, yeah, you can look me up, Blake Marshall, and it's to the side of it. It's Blake Marshall, King of Eights Outfitters. You
have a King of Eights Outfitters page, right?
That's right. I have a King of Eights Outfitters page as well, which
good.
you can also find on Facebook, and just go up there in the search bar and type in King of Eights Outfitters LLC, and it should pop up.
And you're a fun guy to follow on Facebook and Instagram. I love looking at all your posts and stuff and all your pictures, and you're a fun guy, man.
I appreciate it. I try to keep things entertaining. I do a little bit of everything, and some people, they say, "God, you take a lot of pictures," and then those same people are like, "Man, that picture that you took, can you send me that?" or this, that, and the other. So I don't ever stop, and I do a lot of videos, do a lot of pictures, because you want people to see
right.
what you love. I want people to see what I love,
Sure.
and I love what I do. So that's the way I get to share, share with everybody, and it's a good tool. It can be a Facebook and Instagram and all that. They can be, they can be time wasters, and
right.
And that can be a bad tool, but it's like anything, and
it's how you use it.
It's how you use it. You can use a hammer to build a house or bash somebody's head in. So it's how you use it.
That's right.
That's just as simple as I can put it.
That's a good way to look at it. It's a tool.
That's right. It's a tool.
Yeah. No, that's great. Anything else you'd like to add before we're done with this one?
Yeah, actually, right now, here in the past couple of days, I was in the middle of work about 2 days ago. Today will be the third day. 3 days ago now, I was in the middle of work, and it got put upon me. I've done a lot of work with handicapped individuals, not necessarily children, but I do, children, adults, and veterans, and I'm getting more and more into that. I want to do more and more work with them. Of course, I want to run my normal hunts, but the first thing that I want to hit on is I set up a GoFundMe page for this young man. His name is Tanner Hinton, and I'm raising money right now to take him on basically a dream hunt of a lifetime. He's a awesome dude. He's a double amputee. He's suffering from kidney disease. He's had one kidney transplant. Suffers from kidney disease, but and he's got a track chair so he can get out and go, but he's still limited. But the hospital stays and the medications and everything that they have to do keep them to where they can do things that they want to financially. And this kid, I call him a kid, he's 21, but this young man, he's near and dear to my heart, and I just really want to get him on this next hunt with me. And we're going to want to get him a good rifle, good scope, some good outdoor gear, and we're going to try to take a plethora of 3 animals. We're going to try to do a black buck, and these are his top 3: a black buck, an axis, and a really good whitetail.
Nice.
And along with getting some really good outdoor gear, and as much as we can. But I set a goal of 15,000. I did a GoFundMe page, and it's if any of y'all would like to donate, it is www.gofundme/Tanners-Dream-Hunt. And that's Tanner, Tanner, with an S, Tanners-Dream-Hunt, www.gofundme.com/ Tanners-Dream-Hunt. And I've also, if you go to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I have embedded links there, and I've shared all over creation. I actually did a live feed yesterday.
Yes, I watched that.
I've put it on every absolutely every hunting forum that I could possibly put it on, and some people have deleted it because they said they don't allow stuff like that, but most people have been accepting to it.
That's great. And I'll put that link in the show notes too, for sure, for the podcast, so people can see that.
I really appreciate it. But yeah, he's we're gonna get it done. In just three days time, or by the second end of yesterday, we had already raised a little over 1,200 of the 15,000. So fingers crossed, we'll get it raised and get him out here. God willing. Like I said, I'm looking at doing a lot more stuff like that. I'm looking at what it's going to take to set up a foundation specifically for that. I want to be able to take these, especially veterans. The veterans that come back, it bothers me, and some people overlook it. But I've lost family overseas in the war, and then in recent years, and then I've had a couple come back, and they're not the same, and then I lost them, and it's due to PTSD, and there's not a real good way to introduce or reintroduce them back into society. And everybody knows the problems with the VA. I could go on forever, but it's something that I could do, and other people could do to do our part for the people, men and women who protect us and protect our freedom. And so I'm looking at setting up a foundation specifically for that, for people to come and hunt, for these veterans and handicapped individuals to come and go on hunts and get them back going, give them something to, something to do, something to put a smile on their face, because really when they come back, they're veterans tried and true there, but when they come back, they're in an infancy stage again.
Right.
That I've seen, the toughest guys in the world, I've seen break and snap. And I think if we can do something like that, I've got on my page, you and I were talking earlier, but on my page, I have a thing to donate for Tanner. And then I've got a donation link set up on my webpage, on the King of Eights webpage specifically for that, and all proceeds will go to Hunter. Whoever gets the hunt. And I've got certain groups that I work with. The Wounded Warrior Project. I've had people contact me. I've been in contact with them. I've got one guy, he's actually a veteran himself, but his name is John Venable, and really good dude. They've got an organization set up, and I've got the paperwork and everything filled out for that, but going to try to do more and more hunts like that, to give back. And it's been put on my heart to do it, so I'm going to keep on doing it.
That's great. That's wonderful. I mean, that's the stuff I love to see in our industry. And me, I'm part of the Crosswater Outfitters Group, which is a men's ministry that we, minister to wounded soldiers and their families and that kind of stuff as part of our ministry. And, it's near and dear to my heart too, Blake. It really is. So yeah, that's great.
No doubt. Yeah. It's an important part of, it's an important part of what we do. And it's, as much as I get, as much enjoyment as I get is seeing any of my clients, take an animal of their lifetime or anything. I do get enjoyment out of that beyond all comprehension. But when I get these guys, these men and women that I've had out, you know what I'm talking about, and unless you've experienced the smile on their face and the way they light back up. Again, it's something that you have to experience to understand.
To really understand. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
That's great.
yeah, so I appreciate everybody who's listening, who's tuning in. If I'm boring you, I'm sorry.
No, you're not boring us at all. You're very entertaining.
I don't mean to, but I'd love to do this again with you, Dustin.
Sure.
You've been nothing but a good friend to me. I'm sorry it took so long for us to get it going. Hopefully, it won't be that long again before we have another one. There's many more topics that you and I have discussed that I want to hit on. But I think we've got a good one, some good stuff for today.
Yeah, we do. Well, thank you so much again for joining me, Blake.
Absolutely, man, and I appreciate it, and I love you. Keep on rocking, buddy, and I'll see you soon.
I really enjoy every one of the interviews that I do on this show, and Blake is just an incredible guest to interview. I really hope to have him back on the show again. That was a blast. I really enjoy the conversation that we have together, and just what the future holds for him and his operation and his work in the outdoor industry. So those are the kind of guys I like to have on the show because, just like all of my guests, they bring a lot of insight and education to what we do in the outdoors, and that's kind of what my goal in this podcast is to help, spread the good word about what we do in the outdoors and the benefits and things that we have in conservation and hunting and fishing in the future and those kind of things. So it's just a great thing to talk about for sure. So, as a companion piece to this podcast, I also have an article that I'm publishing this week on high fence hunting, kind of the controversial winds of controversy in that issue. A lot of folks are kind of anti, high fences. Some folks are for it, and I kind of discuss in that article the kind of both the pros and cons of high fence hunting and kind of both sides of the issue. So feel free to check that out at fishgame.com. I also have a product review called a Texas Tested Review that we do from time to time on the website at fishgame.com on a Sightmark Core HX scope that I purchased a few months ago and have been shooting on my 270 FN Mauser, custom Mauser rifle that I have, and so that's been working out really well. So I posted a review on that as well, a Texas Tester review on that as well to check out on the website. So thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for reading. And again, if you're not a subscriber to Texas Fishing Game, it's very inexpensive to get a year or 2 or 3 or 4 year subscription to the magazine. We have great content every month. I really highly recommend you get the magazine. Even if you live out of Texas, there's a lot of really good things that you can learn from there. But being this is kind of a Texas-based podcast, it's definitely something if you're a Texas resident to consume, because there's a lot of good information in there every single month. And thank you so much again for everything. Thank you so much for going along with the ride with me and listening to the podcast. And have an awesome day in the outdoors.